Hi everyone, welcome to the Bourbon Obsessed Bourbon and Distillery News Podcast, your commercial-free, and therefore money-free, bourbon podcast for Monday, September 29th. I am Ed, and my co-host Dean has returned from his lengthy sabbatical, so he'll be joining me today.
I'm glad to be back, Ed. It's been a drier couple of weeks. So.
Well, it was a sabbatical from alcohol?
Well, not totally. But, I was actually on a bicycle trip in the Black Hills and the Badlands of South Dakota.
Nice.
And so you can't drink and drive. You can't drink and ride either.
No, you can
wait
drink
till
later.
you're done. That's right. You wait till you're done, and it tastes so much better when you've been on a bicycle for like 50 miles. So I'm just saying.
Yeah, water's for suckers.
You drink water during the ride, right? You can do that and ride. So but yeah, you're right. Water is. But it was beautiful, beautiful countryside. Lots of actual mountains, and so there's some weird thing about bicyclists where we like to struggle riding up mountains, but we do.
It's probably more interesting than riding through the plains, but
right. Didn't see any cornfields. Saw buffalo, saw a lot of prairie dogs, saw all sorts of neat stuff. There was a place with mammoths. I'm going to tell a really quick story. We went to a mammoth museum. There's a dig. It stretches from like 140,000 to 190,000 years ago. So, but this was a sinkhole that filled in with water, and the mammoths would come and drink, and the edge of it was granite, which is slippery. So they would drink, they would fall in, and they couldn't get back out.
Oh, like the La Brea tar pits.
Similar to that.
Kind of idea.
There's 30-some mammoth skeletons in here, as well as other animals. All of them are men. They're all male mammoths. There's no female mammoths. That was a.
Why is that?
It's not clear, but it must be because we didn't stop and ask for directions.
I guess. So I'm assuming you didn't walk to the end of this and try to drink out of it.
Yeah, no, it didn't
join the mammoths.
Yeah, no, it's just an excavation at this point. There's a whole museum built around it.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
It was really pretty cool. Yeah,
huh. Because we've been through there. We've done motorcycle trips up through there, but. And we stopped at Bedrock City and things like that. But,
certainly, you stopped at Wall Drug at some point.
Yeah,
so.
Obviously, you
have
have to go to Wall Drug.
Yeah.
And, and then the actual nature things.
Yes. Yeah, we were staying at state parks and things like that, so it was really neat, really nice trip. Highly recommend it. The quick plug for the tour organizer called Bicycle Adventures. If you're a cyclist and you want to do an organized trip, they're great. They carry your stuff. You can get decent bikes from them, and the guides really know the areas, so that helps a lot.
Cool. Oh, so they're local to that area?
Actually,
they just have local guides.
The guides, they're not necessarily all local, but they've gone to great lengths to learn about the area. And our trip for this one, we actually had the company owner who was from that area, so that was even better. He grew up there.
Nice.
And so and he still loves doing this trip, and it was nice having him along. So
sounds great.
Yeah. So, but I'm really ready to get back into bourbon. So,
well, I did a few bourbon things while you were gone.
I want to hear about those because I missed out on them.
Well, we went down to Bruzelfest, which was in. So Karen and I talked about that briefly last week, but I think you saw that little reel. But that was a nice little festival. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was hot, but it was a nice selection of distilleries, a number of places that I hadn't been to before, which was the point of going to something in a different area. And so we had a good time there. And then this week I did the Willett Estate tour again. That we had all done back on my birthday, and 3 months later, now we're doing it again, but there were some new experiences, and it's always a lot of fun and very educational.
That was an amazing tour, and I would expect them to make it a little bit different each time. That it's never going to be exactly the same.
Well, that's going to be a bigger and bigger challenge when I should say do it at right. Well, there's already a date on the books. Well, because one of the people who went, his wife has now missed it twice, and she really wants to go.
Have to do it.
So now it's scheduled for around her birthday in March. So that'll be the third time.
Well, if you need somebody to fill in, you know who to call. So.
So there was actually one or two people that had backed out of this at the last minute, so we actually wound up having a little space. But, if you want to go again in March,
Yeah. Well, we'll figure out the details off the air. So that's I love that tour. There's nothing like it. So
someday when we do our interviews, we can interview those guys and they can talk about it as well.
Well, and that's especially timely in light of passing of Even Kulsveen this past week. So that's a big loss to the bourbon industry, and maybe we're going to talk about that later on. But it bears, I don't know, it needs a moment of silence, but a lot of respect for him and what he did, and
he did a lot.
What his son and daughter-in-law are doing.
Yeah, I mean, certainly helped make bourbon what it is today.
Yep.
And not to mention, obviously, what he did for reviving that distillery. Mm-hmm. So, but yes, we are actually going to talk about it later, although we just talked about it now. All right, so let's just dive in. So, Leiper's Fork Distillery has appointed Devin Walden as its new director of production, operations, and head distiller at its upcoming Nashville Yards facility. Walden most recently served as master distiller and plant manager at Big Machine Distillery, bringing extensive production and leadership experience to her new role. The Nashville Yards expansion, which I didn't actually know about until I read about her being... I sort of did a double take because I had originally read that she was hired, and I've met her a couple times from when we've actually visited the Big Machine, which used to be called 10 South Distillery. But then I noticed when I was reading it again how it said their Nashville Yards facility, and I was like, what Nashville Yards facility? So now we will hear about it. So the Nashville Yards expansion marks a significant next chapter for Leiper's Fork. The new distillery will feature on-site whiskey production, a full-service restaurant and bar, retail shop, private tasting room, and a live music stage. On the production side, Leiper's Fork will relocate its existing 500-gallon copper still named Ginger from the Leiper's Fork Distillery and add a new 1,000-gallon still to significantly increase their capacity. The Nashville Yards location is expected to open in mid-2026, expanding Leiper's Fork's reach and capabilities in the heart of downtown Nashville, which is pretty cool. It didn't address what's happening with the current Leiper's Fork Distillery, which I'm assuming they're leaving in Leiper's Fork, or they'll have to change their name till Nashville Yards. I don't know, but they also just opened the tasting room in Franklin, Tennessee.
Did they? Yeah,
that just opened.
Right.
We went there in July, and I think it had only been open a very short time.
Well, and I want to know what the new still is going to be named. That's the important stuff. Come on. So,
this is Ginger, so the Skipper.
Skipper. There you go. Mary Ann. Maybe. Who knows, right? Well, I looked into what this Nashville Yards was because my first thought was, wait a second, you're doubling capacity, you're expanding, sales are declining, sort of the perfect storm. Did you really think this out? But this Nashville Yards thing looks like an amazing development. It's like 19 acres. There's going to be an amphitheater. There's going to be a couple of office buildings. Amazon's going to be a tenant in one. There's something called Pinnacle Financial, which is a pretty big regional lender financial group that's going to be in the other building. A couple law firms, one called Bassberry and Sims that I've dealt with. And so it's going to be a true development. I wanted to liken it to like 4th Street Live at Louisville, but it sounds bigger and perhaps more business oriented. But if you're going to have all that around you, that's really going to help make this a success.
Oh, yeah.
It could have been one anyway, right? But it seems like that's going to counter potential drops in just, sales and consumption and stuff like that, because you're going to be part of a big sort of brand new city center almost kind of thing.
So does it have a residential component?
Yes. Luxury. I think some of the top stories of these buildings are luxury condos or luxury apartments. So yeah, there's many people living there too. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, that sounds exciting. So we'll have to visit. And I don't know about consumption being down. When I went to their tasting room in Franklin, it was
busy?
Quite busy. Well, we couldn't even go the first night we were there because it was a Friday night and it was just so busy. We wound up coming back the next afternoon.
Wow.
Where it was still pretty busy.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's a good sign. Yeah. The good producers, the good distillers they'll be okay, right? Mm-hmm. Especially because it sounds like they've got this tourism component, and I do think that's going to be key. If you can't make it on just what you're producing and selling by the barrel, you got to have another revenue stream and tourism and tasting rooms and tours and stuff, that's going to be it.
Well, and they're doing all of this focusing on this similar area of Tennessee, which, as I always say, my feeling about distilleries is that to be successful these days, and for the smaller ones, is to focus on your backyard. And it seems like they're totally doing that, because they're basically going to have 3. I mean, assuming the original one stays open, it's obviously not going to distill, I guess, because it's still is going away.
Still, right? Yeah.
But
they'll have 2 different public-facing spaces, right?
Yeah,
tasting room and this. So, yeah.
Well, and presumably that one will still at least be a tasting room,
right?
So 3.
Yep. Well, that's good. We like to see development and growth in the business. Right?
Yeah,
it's good for us.
All right, our next story is the Ingram Distillery has expanded its distribution to Alaska, bringing its portfolio of river-aged whiskeys to an 8th U.S. state. Known for its unique melted-on-the-Mississippi aging process, the distillery matures its whiskeys in floating barrel houses where the river's motion, humidity, and temperature fluctuations enhance interaction between spirit and oak. The expansion follows the recent launch of Uncharted, a wheated bourbon aged entirely on the Mississippi and packaged in 100% recycled glass. The addition of Alaska marks another step in the brand's continued growth as it introduces its left a little marketing stuff in here. Introduces its award-winning whiskeys to new markets. Usually, try not to include marketing jargon.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. This is all. We're not plugging any particular distilleries, but we plug all of them, don't we? So
yeah,
let's keep them all alive.
Well, I try to keep the summaries just the facts and not
right.
Okay.
So I'm curious. I mean, somebody made a conscious decision to expand to Alaska as the 8th state out of 50 states. What made Alaska number 8? And I know there's nothing in there. I looked on the website and I couldn't find any reasoning behind that, but I just found it curious that Alaska was the 8th state, because it's about as far away as you can get.
But it's actually why I included the story, because otherwise, like, a one-state expansion isn't really super exciting to include. But I do like Ingram, so I included it because of that. But mainly the Alaska part, because I remember when Macaulay was in Alaska expanding his market there early on, and then I think I recently saw pictures of Karen Wells there for Green River expanding. So I'm finding it very interesting. So Alaska must be a very good market, because I keep seeing people going there because they're launching in Alaska. That's 3 that I can think of this year, and I'm sure there's more.
Right. Yeah.
So I guess they drink a lot of whiskey in Alaska.
It's probably a long, cold winter. Right?
Well, we're entering the dark time of the year there, so probably some good timing.
Yeah. And that's good. I'm glad they're expanding. I think they do make a good product. It's their process is unique. You can argue it's a takeoff on some others, but I don't know anybody else who does it just like they do. And it's working for them, it looks like, so that's good.
Yeah, I would still really like to one day taste the barrels because I know they have some barrels that have aged on land to compare them to the ones that raised. Yeah. But anyway, still would really like to get down there one of these days. All right, next is Dark Arts Whiskey House has become the newest member of the Kentucky Distillers Association, joining as a craft-level member producing fewer than 10,000 barrels per year. Co-founded in 2023 by Macaulay Minton and David Peat, the Lexington-based distillery hones its craft by blending, rebarreling, and finishing bourbon, rye, and single malt whiskeys using underutilized maturation techniques and unconventional barrels. Located at 1170 Manchester Street in Lexington, Dark Arts offers visitors a front row seat to witness the distillery's mastery as they create products that transform traditional ingredients into an elevated experience. Since its founding, the distillery has produced a variety of custom blends and limited releases. All right, well, we're back. We had a little bit of technical difficulties, but what I was starting to say was that they have a still now, because when they moved into their new location, which is what used to be RD1's location, they now have RD1's still.
Oh, do they? Okay. So I didn't realize
I'm pretty sure that's the still that they're using. Yeah. So they've recently just started distilling, which I think is what now made them eligible to be part of the KDA.
That would make sense, right? Because it's not their juice. We knew it was somebody else's juice. They were very transparent about that.
Yeah.
But, and we're actually sampling some of their products this afternoon. This is a bottle that they had at the Kentucky Bourbon Festival. And so we're back, and we were talking about this Dark Arts selection that was available at the Kentucky Bourbon Festival. It's called their Blunt Blend. It's a rye whiskey, an 8-year-old rye whiskey finished in both Madeira and Armagnac casks.
Oh, wait, let me guess. Madeira and Armagnac.
I know, right? It's not. It's clearly got that finished nose to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure I would have picked them out, but I mean, look at the color.
Right. Yeah. It's got not just coppery, but sort of a like ruby copper, color to it there.
Yeah, I mean, probably get a little of the. It's nice. I mean, that they blend well, and
they do.
Packs a punch. What's its proof?
I think it's like 115. Dark Arts doesn't do low proof whiskeys.
So, no, they always have quite a bit to them.
114.8. There you go. So yeah. But yes, it certainly has the.
And it's batch number 2.
It is. Yeah, there was a first batch.
Bottle number 5,305, though. Pretty good sized batches.
Making bigger batches, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when they sell through them, and they know there's a market for it. It makes sense to make bigger batches. So good for them.
Well, I think this has been a very popular one.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I like it. It's got the nice. I can pull out both. Maybe it's the Armagnac more than the Madeira, but just the brandy-ish flavors are there in addition to the rye.
Well, you do get the Madeira in there as well, I think. And yeah, I mean, they're fairly sweet finish, but as I also always say, I feel that the rye is just finished so much better with the sweeter finishing barrels. Right. And so definitely, I mean, it's having the flavor of the rye in there stands up very nicely. Whereas if this was a bourbon, I mean, I think it'd just be too sweet.
They tend to be overwhelmed, by the Madeira and Armagnac finishes because it's sort of like when it's like anything you finish. Right? Amburana, if you leave it in there for 2 months, it's going to be overpowering. It should be less than that, and so I'm sure you could do these for just a couple of weeks, but you probably wouldn't get any taste from them. It's going to take a couple of months.
Yeah, I mean, finishing does weird things. I think. Sometimes they become overpowering very early, but then sometimes if you leave them then longer, they mellow out and things just have a chance to mingle more. I don't actually know how long Macaulay finishes these things for.
Yeah, I would assume that they are sampling weekly, monthly, right? Probably weekly to see where things stand, and they probably don't do it just by a fixed time frame, but by
I'm sure.
I've got the taste profile that I want.
So yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I'm glad I got it. So
me too. All right, moving on. So this is a little atypical for a financial story. Black Button Distilling, the largest bourbon distillery in New York, I believe in Rochester, has been saved from bankruptcy through an acquisition by Blackstar Company, a newly formed firm led by spirits industry veterans Chris Comstock and Ray Franklin. The investment ensures that Black Button will continue distilling, bottling, and selling its award-winning lineup, including bourbon, Empire Rye whiskey, gin, vodka, and its popular bespoke bourbon cream, while maintaining its current team and day-to-day operations under founder Jason Barrett. Barrett, who launched Black Button in 2012 as Rochester's first grain-to-glass distillery since Prohibition, will remain president and master distiller. All 9 full-time employees will stay on, though the tasting room, which I think we talked about at one point, which closed in July, will remain shuttered while the new owners evaluate the business. So I guess we don't know if that's coming back. Founded in 2023, Blackstar Company is based in Lexington, Kentucky, and specializes in helping spirits businesses scale, drawing on decades of experience in brand building, operations, logistics, and distribution. The company's leadership includes Comstock, who spent nearly 2 decades building major whiskey brands at Sazerac, Buffalo Trace, and Franklin, a former chief revenue officer at Spirits Capital Corporation. So, a little brighter news on the financial front than usual.
I mean, this is going to be there's going to be availability out there for, it wasn't clear to me the exact terms. I don't think the exact terms were disclosed. I assume that Mr. Barrett, the founder, is retaining some stake in the company, but it doesn't really tell us that. They could be a complete takeover. They could be just injecting capital and expertise for a share of the company. There's all sorts of ways you can put these together. But that's great. It's going to keep this one alive. This has been around for a while. They're a grain to glass distillery, so that's a great solution. It's kept it out of the legal system, and that's always a good thing.
Because they shut down very abruptly, as I recall, when we reported on it initially. So I don't think we knew the specifics of their financial situation at that point.
I don't think so.
But they didn't just enter like a bankruptcy protection and continue going. They just closed.
Yeah. So. And people don't understand. You can just close the doors on a business. Nobody says you have to file a bankruptcy or do anything. So looks like they hit a.
I'm shutting down Bourbon Obsessed right now.
Our commercial fee podcast.
It's too expensive.
This is a positive note, right? It's going to be maintained, and it looked to me like Blackstar has a lot of capabilities that will really provide for the possibility to grow this, not just to maintain it, but to grow it. So we'll see.
Well, they were around for a long time. Since 2012, and I guess we just don't know the specifics. But I wonder what went wrong after that time.
But that's good. There can't be that many Empire Rye producers because it's limited to New York State, and so good. We're going to keep one around. And I also found it interesting that they don't have a tasting room, but they show up at the farmers market in Rochester. So that appears to be their public sales now is at the farmers market. So that's sort of cool because it is, after all, an agricultural product, right?
Yeah, but New York has that farm distillery law, which it's interesting that you say that, but I don't know enough about them. I don't think they're one of the farm distilleries.
All I saw, they say they're green to glass, but no, I don't think they have a farm.
Yeah, because if you're a farm distillery, I have to think back because it's been years since I talked about all this stuff. Mm-hmm. But if you qualify for it, that lets you sell direct to consumer and go to things like the farmers markets and things like that. So maybe they are.
They are. Yeah.
But certainly the laws in New York could have changed since this was 6 years ago when I last looked into the farm distilling there. So it's been a while. All right, well, good for them. So next is Jim Beam and the Cadillac Formula One team have announced a multi-year global partnership, with Jim Beam serving as the team's official spirits partner when Cadillac makes its Formula One debut in 2026, the first new entry to the grid since 2016. The Cadillac Formula One team was formed by TWG Motorsports and General Motors and will compete in the F1A Formula One World Championships. The partnership will include fan experiences, retail activations, and responsible drinking initiatives. Jim Beam's ties to Cadillac date back nearly a century, when, every evening, founder Jim Beam transported in his Cadillac a jar of his proprietary yeast to protect it. And you can see that Cadillac when you take the tour. With the Donner jug sitting in the front seat.
Yeah.
This collaboration builds on Jim Beam's history of sports partnerships across the NFL, MLB, U.S. Soccer, and major motorsports events. So, yes, so another sports-type sponsorship that
Formula One is huge. Internationally, it's a huge draw. It's grown a lot in this country because of, I think, a Netflix series called Drive to Survive. But and Cadillac, again, the first new team in 10 years since 2016. So that's a big deal in the F1 world.
How many teams are there?
There are only 10. So
really?
There's 20 drivers in a race, 2 per team, and so unless I don't think they're expanding the field.
So did someone drop out?
I don't remember. I don't remember if somebody's dropped out. it's really expensive to have an F1 team. You have very expensive cars. Yeah. Mine are Matchbox F1s. I've had Matchbox F1.
Well, I heard the way you drive, it's nothing like an F1.
If that was true, there'd be a lot more drivers in F1. But So anyway, I think it's really cool. It's a good opportunity for Jim Beam. You know, I'm always struck by the irony of alcohol sponsors in any sporting event, but, you know, there's spectators and participants, and the spectators are going to be drinking, so why not?
Yeah, well, and the participants will drink after the event, just like on a bicycle trip.
It's possible.
It all comes full circle.
It does, yes. Yeah. The harder you ride, the more you get to drink. So,
yes. But that's exciting. I mean, we've been talking about, they've all been NASCAR. The ones we've talked about.
Most things have been on a national scale.
Yeah.
And this is truly international. You know, F1 goes all over the world. So,
but I mean, it makes sense for Beam, which is obviously a very big brand.
And I noticed that not Freddie, but Fred still drives a Cadillac apparently.
Yeah, that's what it said.
Yeah.
Not the Cadillac that sits in the...
Not the one that sits in the facility. That's right, yeah.
I wonder if that one actually drives.
You have to go on the tour again and find out.
I'm due. I think it's been like a month or two.
There'll be a new release soon. We'll have to go back, won't we? So,
of course. The next story is the 2025 New York World Spirits Competition, which is part of the Tasting Alliance, who does the San Francisco competition, announced the medal winners for this year's competition on September 22nd. There are 375 medal winners overall, which is a topic for another day.
Right.
The amount of. So I was really only looking at the double gold winners. And the way I think we've talked about these competitions before, but the reason it sounds like there's constantly being winners announced is, well, number one, there's a lot of competition. So there are constantly winners being announced, but many of them do not announce everything at once. So they announce their medal winners, and then a little later on, they announce, you know, best in show, best in each class, category, the platinums, or, you know, the next higher level. That's so they really spread it out, and then they usually all finish with some sort of an event.
Yeah, and don't San Francisco, doesn't like New York and some others lead up to that. So like you've got to finish at a certain place in New York before you can, or if you do finish there, you automatically get to go to San Fran.
No, I don't think it's like
right? Okay,
I don't think so.
Yeah.
It's not like a marathon where you have to qualify.
Yeah,
it's not that I would have any experience with that.
You can do marathons without qualifying. You just can't do Boston. Okay, so.
But no, I mean, as far as I know, these are separate. It's just all under the Tasting Alliance, but it's its own awards. And as far as I know, I mean, within some, there's qualifying ones. They have different regional ones, which will then qualify for the final ones. But I don't know of any cross competition qualification type things. So I don't know. I mean, we can read these really quickly. So these are the double golds. So it's, and I thought it was interesting that, well, we'll get to one that I couldn't even find any information about, which was, I thought, also
some of these surprised me too. Yeah. So,
but so 10th Street peated single malt port cask finish whiskey, then 15 Stars, Three Kings fine aged whiskey, which I think we've actually even drunk on this show once.
I think we did. Yes, which was very tasty.
Big fan of 15 Stars. 1792, aged 12 years.
I tried that at the Bourbon Festival. It was lovely.
Yeah, it's very good.
Any for sale, but you could taste it. So.
And pretty reasonably priced for a 12-year-old. Barrel Batch 37 bourbon. Bespoken Alchemist Series Release 12 straight rye whiskey finished with Amburana. Blanton's Gold. Bourbinski Mark Fury straight bourbon. Brothers Bond Bottled in Bond Straight Bourbon, Brothers Bond Cask Strength Straight Bourbon, Buffalo Trace Bourbon, just the normal, not the
regular Buff Trace. Yeah.
Garrison Brothers Guadalupe, Green River Kentucky Straight Wheated Bourbon, K. Luke Small Batch Barrel Strength Batch 12 Bourbon, K. Luke Small Batch Toasted Barrel Strength Batch 5 Rye, Knox and Dobson Improved Whiskey Cocktail, so that's in the category, or came up under whiskey on the spreadsheet. So it's there you go. Peg Leg Porker Spirits, Gray Label Tennessee Straight Bourbon, Stranahan's Mountain Angel 10-year single malt whiskey, which I actually reviewed a while back and thought it was really good.
I love Stranahan stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Garden Reserve, The Spirit of New York Sports, and that's one I can't find anything about. Then Traveler and Weller Foolproof. So not many double golds.
Right. Yeah.
In the overall scheme of
things.
And
we probably all heard about some of those, the Weller Foolproof, maybe the 15 Stars, the Buffalo Trace certainly, but some of the others
since my dog spilled my first one.
Yeah. Some of the others, are smaller, up-and-coming distilleries, and so that's good recognition for them. So glad Green River made it in there. I'm curious because, Green River, if Green River entered, I wonder if Bardstown Bourbon Company entered anything. I would have expected them to have had something pull a double gold, but you never know, right? It depends on what they entered and if they entered at all. So.
Well, we could look through the rest of the spreadsheet and see if their name shows up somewhere because, a lot of these competitions, the majority of people win some medal,
right.
Which is why I generally only talk about the top category. But they do run Green River and Bardstown Bourbon Company as separate companies, so it doesn't necessarily mean that they entered. Anyway, so congratulations to all of those. And if anybody knows anything about the Garden Reserve, the Spirit of New York Sports Straight Bourbon, I would love to know something about it.
Yeah, that sounds like an interesting product.
Well, or it's just a single barrel that was for one particular group and nobody else. I don't know.
That sort of seems antithetical to a spirits competition because, maybe there is a single barrel category, but, we all know single barrels can be on a wide spectrum of good to bad, and it doesn't seem fair to judge them against batches, if you will.
And it's not super meaningful because just because one single barrel wins doesn't mean another single barrel from the same place is going to be of that same level. So that's a whole other topic of discussion, whether single barrels should be in competition.
We'll put out a philosophical Bourbon Obsessed podcast, and we'll put all these things into that one, you guys.
So, moving on. The American Whiskey Association issued the following statement regarding... I actually looked up how to pronounce this. So, the country formerly known as Turkey is now known as Turkiye. And I guess that was actually changed a couple of years ago. It's one of the rabbit holes that I went down as I tried to look up information about whiskey. But it's pretty interesting, and it really changed, and they changed the spelling. But I guess one of the number one, that was how it was originally for the country itself. But in the U.S., we had changed it to Turkey the way we change names of a lot of things. Right. But because of the connotations of Turkey from 70s television and things like that, and because it's a food for us, the country
actually
wanted to change it. Yeah, so now there's no confusion, and
that's the ultimate marketing.
Coup,
right?
So anyway, so that's pretty cool. So that was an interesting piece of information that I spent some time on as I was trying to compile the list. So here's the statement. Anyway, back to being on focus here. The American Whiskey Association commends President Trump for his leadership in securing the removal of Turkey's 70% retaliatory tariff on U.S. spirits. This breakthrough is vital for American whiskey and for the entire ecosystem that supports its success, from grain farmers to cooperages, distillers, distributors, and retailers. In 2024, U.S. spirits exports to Turkey totaled 11 million, with American whiskey accounting for nearly 90% of all U.S. spirits exports to that market. American whiskey has long been a symbol of American craftsmanship and ingenuity, and the opportunity to restore fair access to the Turkish market represents a meaningful step forward for our industry. It will not only expand the international reach of American whiskey, but also reinforce the shared prosperity that comes with open and fair trade. We thank our partners at Discus for their engagement on tariff issues and for leading industry efforts to reduce tariff and non-tariff barriers to growth. And then another thing about this that I thought was interesting. So this tariff was put in place in 2018 during President Trump's first term as a retaliatory tariff to the U.S., the steel and aluminum tariffs that happened then. And since that time, it used to be 17 million exports to the country, now to 11. So that's a big drop.
Yeah.
So hopefully this reverses that.
That's great. Yeah, let's hope that reverses, like you say, and even grows it some. I'm sort of surprised that there's a lot of alcohol consumption in Turkey to begin with. It's, I think, largely Muslim, not totally, but it's another market, so that's good, right? Let's get in there and see if we can get some craft distillation and more product. More Kentucky product for the world.
Yeah, that's our goal.
That's right. Yeah.
Not that we actually.
We got to have some of it here. We want to keep some of it here, but there's plenty to go around, folks.
There is. All right, so Diageo has temporarily paused whiskey production at both its Balcones Distillery in Waco, Texas, and its Cascade Hollow Distillery in Tullahoma, Tennessee, home of George Dickel, as part of a review of its productivity goals. Distillation and barrel filling operations at Balcones were halted in August, resulting in a loss of 17 jobs. Production has also been paused at Cascade Hollow, although no job cuts were announced there. The visitor centers at both sites remain open for tours and tastings. According to Diageo, the company is ahead of schedule with volume production. We heard that exact same story when they closed their other distillery here. Right. And will suspend distilling operations and barrel filling through June 2026. So this is a long time.
That's
so
like
for Balcones, it was a year.
That's a huge period of time. It's not just a maintenance shutdown, right?
No. And during the downtime, employees will focus on strategic projects, training, and site maintenance in preparation for the next fiscal year. The decision follows similar slowdowns across Diageo's global portfolio, including at Rowe & Co. in Dublin and Teenanick in Scotland. Earlier this year, production was also paused at Diageo's Carbon Neutral Distillery in Lebanon, Kentucky. The company is currently implementing a cost-cutting plan aimed at saving $625 million, which includes consolidating bottling operations and workforce reductions. And we also talked about the Crown bottling closing for the U.S. Exports in Canada and being shifted to some facility here. So... yeah, so that's really big. That's a really strong indicator that consumption is down, but we all know it goes in cycles. And so, is this going to lead to another shortage in 5, 10, 15 years from now? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. I'd say absolutely. I think everything is cyclical.
It is. Yeah.
There's no question, because at some point it will return to brown spirits' favor, as things always do. I mean, it's
$625 million is a lot of millions, and you gotta. I don't know what Diageo's annual revenues are, but they've got to be huge if they're hoping to cut $625 million.
Their revenue is huge.
Can't imagine it would be more than 10%, but you never know, right? I mean,
didn't we talk about Diageo's?
We did at some point, but I don't remember.
No, I don't remember the numbers of him, revenues, but it's a lot.
Right. Yeah,
and they're a very big company. What was I going to say? Oh, but I feel sorry for Balcones, though. I mean, that's not a big place.
Nope.
17 people actually lost their jobs. This isn't just being furloughed or put in some other job like has happened at many. So that's pretty serious.
I think there's still some, like the upper, if you will, the management, I think, was kept on. Did I remember that correctly?
Yeah.
Like the head distiller and so forth and so on are still there.
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, it seems like we've seen
the head distiller and you're hostessing the tasting room. That's not really, that's not fulfilling.
Well, no, and I mean, it concerns me when things like happen, because these larger international brands that really didn't have all that much to do with American bourbon. I mean, they have Dickel, but that's Tennessee whiskey. But anyway, it's close enough. But they buy some of these companies, and then next thing you know, I mean, we talked about that with Campari and Wilderness Trail,
right.
where it's listed under other that they paid $600 million for. So I'm just concerned. I mean, it hasn't been that long since they bought Balcones, and now they deciding, well, we don't want it, and we're going to close it, which would be a pretty big loss.
Was it Diageo or one of them had their Distill Ventures?
That's them, and they abandoned that, which got rid of a whole bunch of small brands.
That's had some trickle down hardships on some smaller distilleries. So
like really big hardships because that helped small distilleries get started or expand, and the money was like cut off.
Yeah.
So
Westland Whiskey was in a bankruptcy because of that.
Right, that was one of them, and then the Danish rye. I'm blanking on it. It's right here somewhere. Yeah. But so.
So can I segue into bankruptcy updates real quick?
Sure.
So I've spent some time looking at a couple cases that are in bankruptcy.
All right, and we're back from our technical
difficulties. But
Dean, you were saying.
I'm going to do a quick bankruptcy update for folks that geek out over that. So
sounds good.
Luca Mariano is in Danville. It is not in bankruptcy, but the company that owns the real estate, LCM Holdings, is in bankruptcy up in Michigan. They had filed a reorganization plan by October the 15th. They just asked for another month to do that. And what I found interesting about that was that it said that they were negotiating a liquidation process with their lender, which means there's going to be a sale. And specifically they said that it's complicated by the relationship with a related distillery which has not yet commenced bankruptcy. Now that's my emphasis, not theirs, on the not yet. But it may be that we will see the actual distillery enter into a bankruptcy to help facilitate a sale of both the land and the distillery.
Well, it seems like they can't really... They're going to...
You would think they would go together,
hand,
right?
Yeah.
And so I'm surprised that just the, if you will, the holding company with the real estate filed the bankruptcy in the first place, but...
I thought there were other issues when we talked about this, because, I mean, they were, just as a refresher to everybody, they were unique because the same, basically, week that they had celebrated their grand opening of their distillery, they had these liens filed against them, and there was that bankruptcy.
They've got some real issues with liens from people that did construction on site.
Right, which seemed like more than just the land. That's why I don't understand. I thought they were doing a bankruptcy to protect the actual distillery part of it as well.
And I think their main problem, I guess, has been their big lender. I think it's called Summit Bridge. But because those liens actually attach to the land as well as any buildings on the land. And so if the company that owns the land files a bankruptcy, it sort of stops them from moving forward. And that's what they were trying to accomplish. They did. But, it's going to be interesting to see what they come up with as a sale process. But
it doesn't seem promising.
Yeah, and I mean, and they've got 550 acres. They're not using all of that for the distillery. They've leased some land out for people to farm it. I think they may farm it themselves. There's a rick house there with 6,000 barrels. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. We'll keep you posted here because I'll keep my eyes on it. So the other bankruptcy is a little place that some folks have heard of called Uncle Nearest. There hasn't been a lot happening since the receiver was appointed. Last week, 2 weeks ago, on the 12th, the receiver filed a motion to clarify the order appointing him. And he said, it's not clear to me if these companies are part of what's in this receivership. And he listed a dozen different companies, okay? I'm not going to run through all of them because we'd be here for a while, but the main ones are...
And I read all those awards, which took a little time.
Yeah. Uncle Nearest Real Estate Holdings, Shelbyville Barrel House Barbecue. That seems like it operates a restaurant on the property. Humble Baron, which I think is a bar on the property. It's actually in a blind trust to be separate from the distillery license. There's a weird, unique thing for folks. Grant Sydney Inc.
Well, that must have something to do with on-site sales of alcohol in a distillery, in a bar. So,
yeah, exactly. Under Tennessee law, I don't think you can, and so, you can't, one person can't be in charge of both or have ownership stakes in both, so it's in a blind trust. So, but I'm going to segue a little bit from Humble Baron because Humble Baron is in the Guinness Book of World Records for having the longest bar in the world, and one of the things, Farm Credit filed a response to this receiver's request, supporting it, right? Saying, yeah, you should wrap all this stuff together. Apparently, Uncle Nearest paid like $125,000 to Guinness over the course of a year for this. I don't know what it is. I don't know the deal, but that's how.
I had no idea there were payments involved in getting in the Guinness Book of World Records.
Nor did I, but apparently it was $125,000 to be the longest bar in the world.
So what does that mean for all the other records? Everybody's just been pay to play?
Yeah, I don't know. That's. I suspect there may not have been a category for
what about like the world's biggest chocolate bar and stuff like that?
You have to wonder. Right? Yeah. So anyway, it'll be interesting to see some of these other companies. Grant Sidney is the biggest shareholder of Uncle Nearest. Grant Sidney, which is the name of a company, is owned all completely by Fawn.
Yeah.
And so there's transactions back and forth, and there's just a bunch of stuff here. And so from Farm Credit's perspective, they're going, it looks like they have commingled assets. They haven't kept finances separate. Grant Sidney wired over $16 million to Uncle Nearest in 2025, $7.5 million of which went to Farm Credit for a forbearance agreement. So it's sort of hard for them to complain about that. But their point is there aren't clear lines, and if it's all jumbled together, then it should all come into the pot, if you will. They're just arguing for their own benefit, and that's fine. Yeah. They're entitled to do that.
No, it's a good... I mean, they raise very good points, and I think some of those other things that came up was that the bar doesn't have any lease, so it's basically...
Right.
That would imply that it's actually part of the business that it's not part of. It doesn't have its own separate list of employees.
Right.
So, I mean, all these things do not paint it as a separate business.
Right. And
which is their creditor's point.
I can't tell you how many small business owners I see that are paying their mortgage out of their business account or their car payment. But as you get bigger, that stuff has to stop. It should never happen. Let me be clear. It should never happen to begin with. It happens all the time. But as you get bigger, if you're creating different entities, hey, let's have separate bank accounts, separate employees, separate, all this stuff. And
well, you have
do it the right
to
way.
Legally.
You're supposed to do it that way, yes.
But, I mean, the thing that I wonder about, and I've wondered about this from the beginning, ever since there were a lot of less than clear divisions of companies where money was going and coming from. I'm wondering about taxes, because if everything else is like this, it's hard to believe that all T's were crossed and I's were dotted in taxes. Now, this is just pure conjecture, but seeing the rest of it, so that makes me wonder, and then that's how people can get in much bigger trouble than...
Yes. Yeah, the IRS is not a very congenial foe.
No. So I wonder, I mean, nobody's talked about that, but there's enough of this financial confusion that it makes me wonder about that
I wonder about that too, yeah. And so we'll see. I mean, the receiver is got a lot to do, and... the other thing I saw in the case was the receiver filed a list of professionals he had hired. A law firm in Paris, France, to register the receivership in France, to do what we call domesticate it. Also, an attorney firm in Boston to register it up there.
Because all those other
Cape
property.
Cod House, yeah,
right, and
exactly.
The Cognac Distillery is the France.
Yeah. But also Thoroughbred Spirits Group to do an operations advisor. And I meant to look up what Thoroughbred Spirits Group and its background. I didn't have a chance, but so... He's smart enough to know that, hey, I don't know how to run a distillery. There's people that do. I'm going to hire them to advise me.
Yeah.
I'm a professional and I do this kind of stuff, so it's hard for me to critique it. But you can hire so many professionals that it sucks all the air out of the room, and it makes it harder to reorganize instead of easier. So we'll see if this is, how it's going to work down the road. He's got to file a first report on October 1st, so the next time we do the update, that report will have been out, and we'll run through that a little bit.
Yeah, and then for anybody that's interested, my friend Mike at the Bourbon and Rye Club has a ongoing... He's basically the authority on this nowadays, and he has an ongoing blog about everything that's ever happened and really keeps on top of it. So for anybody who's interested, visit his website and read. Well, you could read for days.
You can read for days.
Actually,
he does an excellent job. He's got some interesting commentary. He's a good writer. So yeah, I highly recommend him also.
Yes. All right. So as our last, it's not really a news story, but it's our memorial that we mentioned earlier. So Even Kulsveen, who's a member of the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame and the visionary who revived Willett Distillery, had passed away on September 23rd at the age of 79. He served as executive director of the company until his death and is remembered as a key figure in bourbon's modern resurgence. In 1972, Kulsveen married Martha Willett, a descendant of the distillery's founding family, and in 1984 he purchased the historic Bardstown property. Under his leadership, distilling returned to the family site in 2012, ushering in a new era for Willett, and he was inducted into the Bourbon Hall of Fame in 2019. And Martha actually had passed away earlier this year, so there's more to read. But the bottom line is he was a great contributor to this and an icon, and he'll be missed.
He will be missed, and we're all thrilled with what he has done. He and his family have done to restore Willett, and they're certainly a primo name in the bourbon world these days.
Oh yeah,
much to his credit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so
I think we're done.
All right. So that about does it for this episode. I hope you have enjoyed this edition of the Bourbon Obsessed Bourbon and Distillery News Podcast, your commercial-free and therefore money-free bourbon podcast. Please be sure to join us next Monday for our new Bourbon Releases podcast. We'll have lots to discuss. Also, be sure to like and follow us at your preferred podcast provider so that you don't miss an episode. And don't forget to tell all your friends, too. You can also head over to bourbonobsessed.com to check out some of our over 350 bourbon reviews and over 50 distillery write-ups. While you are there, you can also sign up to have my newsletters delivered directly to your inbox. Finally, I can also be found on Instagram at bourbon_obsessed and on Facebook at Bourbon Obsessed, and would love for you to follow me there as well. Dean, where can they find you?
People can find me on Instagram and at Dean of Bourbon, and I will post some pictures from my trip so people can see just how grueling it was.
Is that like a fishtails? It's probably better left as a...
Yes, it is. Yes.
as a story. All right, well, we'll see you next time, everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers.